it's getting challenging for me to review WrestleManias because they're all starting to feel the same. They all blend together now. And in my opinion, this WrestleMania more than ever demonstrates that WrestleMania does not need to be 2 nights. There was so much filler in terms of endless commercials and nonsense that they could have easily taken the best parts and fit it into 1 night. But no, they have to keep WrestleMania this overbloated thing that takes up 2 nights plus SmackDown the night before. So the first match was Austin Theory versus John Cena, and it was a very typical match where the good guy is supposed to win, the referee is knocked out, then the bad guy cheats and he wins. The problem with this typical kind of match is that it doesn't make sense for John Cena. Remember, this is Super Cena we're talking about. Remember when John Cena was destroying all our favorite wrestlers? Remember when he picked up the Big Show and Edge at the same time at WrestleMania 25? Remember when he and Randy Orton fought the entire Raw roster by themselves? Remember when he beat The Rock? How does John Cena steamroll over everyone and then lose to Austin Theory? It makes no sense. It's kind of absurd. Does this mean that Austin Theory can fight the entire Raw roster? Does this mean that Austin Theory can beat The Rock? It makes no sense. So the next match was the 4-way tag team match, and this is what I'm talking about in terms of filler. There was no need for this match to be at WrestleMania. It could have been on Raw. It could have been at a house show. It's not even worthy of a SummerSlam. And it played out like an AEW match where tagging was optional. The wrestlers are coming out whenever they wanted, and the referee's just standing there like, okay. And there was this absurd, nonsensical part of the match where Shorty G is on the top rope. One of the Street Profits tagged Shorty G to tag himself into the match. But even though Shorty G is now tagged out of the match, he dives into the ring anyway for no reason, splashing himself into the mat. Then the Street Profit guy gets on the top rope to splash Shorty G, even though he's not even a legal guy. But while the Street Profit is on the top rope, one of the Viking Experience guys tags the Street Profit to tag himself into the match. But even though the Street Profit is now tagged out of the match, he swantons himself into the ring for no reason, missing Shorty G by a mile. Then the Viking Experience guy gets on the top rope to splash the Street Profit guy. None of this makes any sense. You tag yourself into the match. The guy you tagged out dives into the ring for no reason. Then you get on the top rope to splash the guy that you tagged out, and he's not even the legal guy. Look, that doesn't even make any sense. This is AEW level of absurdity. So then, after a crapload of commercials, the next match was Logan Paul versus Seth Rollins, which was actually a very entertaining match. The limiting factor of this match was that it involved 2 characters who were designed to be unlikable douchebags. So it's like, 2 annoying douchebags, who do I cheer for? But as the match progressed, I found myself cheering for Logan Paul. Logan Paul seems to have a deep respect for wrestling and treated this match with a level of seriousness that seemed greater than many of today's indie wrestlers. And I also liked the subplot of his bionic fist, like Lex Luger's bionic forearm. And when he injured his bionic fist, unlike many of today's no-sell indie wrestlers, he continued selling the injury, which I very much appreciate. Then the next match was Damage Control versus Becky Lynch, Trish Stratus, and Lita. Damage Control comes out first, looking like they're wearing incomplete, half-finished cosplay. It's like, how are we supposed to take this ridiculous team seriously, right? When Damage Control first debuted, Michael Cole was like, the emergence of Damage Control has the entire locker room on edge. It's like, what the hell? Why would anyone be on edge because of Damage Control? Why would Randy Orton be on edge because of Damage Control? Why would Charlotte Flair be on edge because of Damage Control? Right? It's like these 3 little goofballs, yet they're being made out to be this powerful force. Like, this whole storyline was like, Trish Stratus and Lita must stop the threat of Damage Control. It's like, what the hell? There is no threat. If anything, this is just another example of the Incredible Shrinking Wrestler where Dakota Kai looks like she's half the size of Trish Stratus and Lita. So the next match was Rey Mysterio versus Dominic Mysterio. Now, this was supposed to be a super serious, emotional match. But in my opinion, that was sabotaged by the match being sponsored by Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So instead of being a serious environment, They were surrounded by bright yellow emojis bouncing around and Cinnamon Toast Crunch logos bouncing around. I mean, can you imagine Bret Hart fighting Shawn Michaels in the Iron Man match at WrestleMania 12 and they're surrounded by bright yellow emojis bouncing around? That would have completely undermined what the environment was supposed to be. This was supposed to be a super serious environment, but it's hard to take it seriously when even when Rey Mysterio was coming out, his name on the bottom of the screen was a Cinnamon Toast Crunch logo. So the next match was Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. Like Seth Rollins, Charlotte Flair comes out wearing a poofy outfit. I guess the costume designer was in the mood for poofy outfits that night. As for the match itself, I don't have much to say other than it was a well-performed match, but I do appreciate Rhea Ripley staying in character even after winning the match, unlike the Iconics who broke character and started crying after winning their WrestleMania Tag Team title match. So the next match was the main event of night one, the Usos versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Now, first of all, I am not a fan of the tag team titles main eventing WrestleMania. I understand why they did it with the storylines going on, but let me put it this way. Remember when the Taker and Kane were tag team champions? Even then, I would not want the tag team titles main eventing WrestleMania. I believe that the main event of WrestleMania should be a world title match, either the women's world title or the men's world title. Second of all, I am not a big fan of super unrealistic comeback victories. I mean, remember at WrestleMania 30 where Daniel Bryan was getting destroyed by everyone and still became champion? Triple H hit him with the sledgehammer. Batista and Randy Orton were destroying him. He was getting thrown into everything, hit with every finishing move, yet he still wins the match and becomes champion. That's absurd. That makes me not want to watch wrestling. In this match, Sami Zayn is getting obliterated, yet by the end of the match, he's running around and he wins the match and he's magically recovered from all his injuries. That's absurd. That makes me not want to watch. Night one of WrestleMania had two cliches that were spoiling the match results for us longtime wrestling fans. Number one, the commentators were giving away the match results with their commentary. During the Cena match, they were talking about how great it would be for Cena to be US champion again, which means he's not becoming US champion again. Then during the Sami match, they were acting like Sami had no chance of winning the match, which means he's winning the match. They were giving away the match results, indirectly giving spoilers with their commentary. Number two, they were doing the thing where the wrestler that gets beat up the most during the match wins the match. These two cliches were throughout night one of WrestleMania and would continue into night two of WrestleMania. So night two of WrestleMania started out with Brock Lesnar versus Omos, and it was your typical big man match, a quick payday for Brock Lesnar. Again, it was the cliche where Omos dominates most of the match, which means Brock Lesnar is winning the match. I do appreciate that unlike Sami Zayn, Brock Lesnar continued selling the injuries even after the match, like a wrestler is supposed to. Then, the next match was the women's four-way tag team match, where Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler walk out just like Ken and Ryu with the powers of pain face paint. But the thing is, Ronda Rousey didn't even do anything during the match. Liv Morgan did all the work, and then Ronda Rousey just walks in the end and wins the match. So it's like a quick payday for her too. Next was the triple threat match for the Intercontinental title, and here's my question. Do people actually care about Gunther? I mean, when you think about the legendary Intercontinental champions, Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect, Macho Man, Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, Ricky Steamboat, do you really care about Gunther in that same way? I don't think so. And when you don't care about the champ, it takes away from the experience of the match. It's not just about work rate. And once again, the commentators in this match were giving away the ending to this match, talking about how great it would be for Sheamus to become Intercontinental Champion, which means he's not becoming Intercontinental Champion. Then it was the Raw Women's title match between Asuka and Bianca Belair. And once again, the commentators were giving away the ending to the match with their commentary, saying things like, Asuka will be the one that finally defeats the EST. You know what that means? That means Asuka is not defeating the EST. Alright? during this match, the way the commentators were talking, I was 100% sure that Bianca Belair would win the match, which she did. Throughout this show, the commentators were giving away the ending to the matches with their commentary, which was taking away from my viewing experience. So next was the Hell in a Cell match, and I don't have much to say about this match because, and I know this might sound weird to say, but it was just your typical Hell in a Cell match. And I know it might sound weird to call a Hell in a Cell match typical, but it was, you know? It was like they were hitting each other with stuff, kendo sticks, you know, throwing each other into the stairs, jumping off stuff. At some point, someone pulls out a table. It's just everything you would expect from a Hell in a Cell match. So next was the main event between Cody and Roman Reigns, and it was a very well done match, a very well put together match. But I think an issue with my viewing experience is that I just don't care as much about today's wrestlers. I don't care about Gunther the way I care about Bret Hart and Razor Ramon. I don't care about Sami Zayn the way I care about Stone Cold and The Rock. I don't care about Cody the way I care about Ric Flair and Macho Man. So even when a match is well done, my emotional investment in the match is going to be limited because I don't care who wins. When Gunther fought Sheamus and Rudy Boudreaux, I don't care who won. But if that exact same match were between Bret Hart, Stone Cold, and The Rock, I would be a million times more interested and a million times more emotionally invested because these are larger than life stars that I actually care about. So even though this WrestleMania was entertaining, if I can't care about Gunther the way I care about Stone Cold, my enjoyment of the event is always going to be limited. And just to drive home the point, I actually had a whole bunch of former high school classmates, super casual fans, watch some of this WrestleMania. And you know what they were talking about after this WrestleMania? Wow, is that Ric Flair's daughter? Wow, how did John Cena get beat by that little guy? Wow, it's Ronda Rousey. Wow, who's that big guy who's beating up Brock Lesnar? Even though the main event was Sami Zayn, they were still focused on Ric Flair, Ronda Rousey, John Cena, and Brock Lesnar. The big names, because that's what the mainstream audience is interested in. It's not just about work rate. Hogan, Warrior, Stone Cold, and The Rock were never the best technical wrestlers on their rosters, but they were the ones that the mainstream audience wants to see. If a promotion is overly focused on work rate and indie wrestling, they're not going to get the mainstream audience because that's not what the mainstream audience wants to see.